So I'm going to go through my notes that I first made when I first received the key of David. It was an incredible moment. I remember it vividly. My brother Mark gave me the scriptures. I went and sought it out and checked that what he was saying was true and in the Word, and it absolutely is. And I'd like to preface this by saying, if you can't accept it, do not speak negatively against it. Yeshua himself says this is not for everyone to accept, and that doesn't mean I'm making myself out to be anyone important in any which way. God's ways are higher. I have a juicy IPA today. It's quite nice. So let's crack on. I've updated them slightly since I first made them. I imagine it was about 2.5 years ago. So, in Revelation 2 and 3, Yeshua promises many gifts to the 7 churches for those who overcome the world. One of these promises is the key of David, mentioned when addressing the Church of Philadelphia. And we know that the Church of Philadelphia, alongside, is it Thyatira? They're the only 2 that aren't rebuked out of the 7. So that's quite an important detail. Revelation 3, 7 through 8. And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, These things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth, and no man shutteth, and shutteth, and no man openeth. I know thy works. Works are important. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. We're not denying the name of Yeshua, Joshua, Yahushua, however you pronounce it. I'm sure he'll correct us if we overcome, if we make it into the millennial kingdom. But we've not denied his name. Whereas Christians, I see a lot of Messianic Torah, Messianic Jews and the Torah movement, they're still using the name of Baal, the name of Jesus, Sol Invictus, Apollo, the pagan sun god. So there in Revelation 3, 7 through 8, Yeshua is quoting Isaiah 22:22 verbatim. It's word for word. And the key of the house of David will I lay upon his shoulder. So he shall open and none shall shut, and he shall shut and none shall open. Almost verbatim. Matthew 7, 7 through 8. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. Yeshua is the door. And the porter is stood in the door, and what Yeshua says unto the porter, he says unto all, watch, enter into the works of a watchman. So I received the key of David at the beginning of my walk, well, quite close to the beginning of my walk. I didn't know about being a watchman. I didn't know about the royal law. I didn't know about rebuking. I didn't know about Leviticus 19, 15 through 18. But although I was in huge error on many topics regarding the gospel, I already took it upon myself unwittingly. You know, it's the Spirit of grace that convicted me to do so. But to rebuke obvious outright lies on YouTube, and that's how it started. So to receive the key of David, you must first repent, keep the 10 Commandments, eat clean, teach others to do so, very important. But for me, and I think I can speak quite safely for most of my brothers and sisters, you have to accept the day dawning in your heart. And that's mentioned later in one of the scriptures I'll bring up. I believe it's Nehemiah. Matthew 19, 11 through 12. But he said unto them, All men cannot receive this saying, save they to whom it is given. For there are some eunuchs which were born from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men, and there be eunuchs, that word eunuch, G2, 1, 3, 4, which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it. It goes back to what I started by saying, this isn't for everyone. I don't understand why, completely, but God's ways are higher than ours. And now into that Greek word, G2134. It means to live unmarried, and the root word G2135, eunokos. It can be, by extension, an impotent or unmarried man. And bear that in mind, because some of the scripture from the New Testament I'm going to go into later is very relevant to the impotent man. So what is the key of David? In Matthew 24, Yeshua rebukes the Pharisees when they try to accuse him and his disciples of breaking the Sabbath by eating the heads of corn. He then goes on to point us in the direction of the story of King David and his men breaking the Sabbath by eating the showbread, and the temple priests profaning the Sabbath but being found blameless. So Matthew 12, 1-8. At that time Yeshua went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were an hungered and begun to pluck the ears of corn and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, thy disciples do that which was not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day. But he said unto them, Have ye not read what David did? Have ye not read? This applies to you guys. Any of you in the Christian church that accuse Yeshua of breaking the Sabbath, you are a liar, and the truth is not within you. He lived perfectly according to God's will, his Father's will, which is the 10 Commandments, eating clean, teaching others to do so. And there's other things around that, like the Romans 13, for example. Have ye not read what David did? Go and read what David did when he was an hungered, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of God, and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests. Or have ye not read in the law, have ye not read it? You clearly haven't read it. How that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless. But I say unto you, that in this place is one greater than the temple. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, ye would not have condemned the guiltless, for the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath day. To Christians that say we don't have to keep the Sabbath, Yeshua tells you he's the Lord of the Sabbath. If the Sabbath is done away with, how can he be Lord over it? I've got a bug on my glasses. Oh, it's gone. He can't. Say I have a lordly manner, and I lose it through conquest, say, am I still the Lord of that manor? No, I'm not. So the Sabbath day still stands. Read Hebrews 3 and 4. And if you don't understand it from Hebrews 3 and 4, then I'm afraid you're going into great tribulation. Simple as that. Yeshua directs us through his questions to the Pharisees to seek out and read what David did to be found blameless in his breaking of the Sabbath. 1 Samuel 21, 3-6. Now therefore, what is under thine hand? This is David speaking. Give me 5 loaves of bread in mine hand, or what there is present. And the priest answered David and said, There is no common bread under mine hand, but there is hallowed bread. If the young men have kept themselves at least from women. Please bear that in mind. And David answered the priest and said unto him, Of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days. Very important detail, the 3 days since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy. What do you think vessels are? If they've abstained from laying with their wives for 3 days, the vessels are their testicles. The testicles. And the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it were sanctified this day in the vessel, so the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there but the showbread that was taken from before the Lord, to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. Yeah, and please take note that the vessels of the young men were holy. It's quite important. Revelation 22:11. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still, and he which is filthy, let him be filthy still, and he that is righteous, in other words, entering into God's righteousness, which is the Ephesians 2:12, holy covenants of promise, plus the royal law, plus a few other things. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. Right, now on to Exodus 19. I'm going to go 1 through 17. This is the notes that I updated because it was only one verse, but it's quite important to read this full passage. In the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. So that's the Sinai Peninsula. That is not Mount Sinai specifically, being bitten by ants, and had pitched in the wilderness. And there Israel camped before the mount. And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, who's Jacob, my servant, and tell the children of Israel, and who's Israel, mine elect. Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. Please check out my video. I think it's titled A Peculiar People, a Royal Priesthood, a Holy Diadem. I can't quite remember. It was from last week or the week before. Because all of those are idiomatic of keeping the 10 Commandments, eating clean, and teaching others to do so. Then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and an holy nation. Who are the priests? The Levites. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all these words which the Lord commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, All that the Lord hath spoken we will do. So this is when Moses went up to Mount Horeb and received the 10 Commandments, verbally agreed to the 10 Commandments. Oh, I've lost my place. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord, and the Lord said unto Moses, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever. And Moses told the words of the people unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go unto the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the 3rd day. For the 3rd day the Lord will come down in the sight of all people upon Mount Sinai. And that's when Yah was going to descend, that's when Yah did descend upon Mount Sinai and ratified the 10 Commandments in stone on 2 tables of stone, which were placed in the ark, the Mosaic law placed outside the ark. I'm going to touch on that a little later as well. And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, Take heed to yourselves, that ye go not up into the mount. Please bear this in mind, you lawyers, you legalists. I'll read that again. And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, Take heed to yourself, that ye go not up into the mount, or touch the border of it. So although the 10 Commandments were ratified in stone at Sinai, what was given immediately after Moses descended with the 2 tablets of stone, the sacrificial law, because the Israelites created the golden calf, they'd already broken the 10 Commandments, even though they said, all that Yah says we will do. Whosoever toucheth the Mount Sinai, sacrificial law, whosoever toucheth sacrificial law shall surely be put to death. There shall not an hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through. Whether it be beast or man, it shall not live. When the trumpet soundeth long, they shall come up to the mount. And Moses went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people. And they washed their clothes. They made their clothes white. High pollen up north. And it came to pass on the 3rd day in the morning, that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the nether part of the mount. So from that passage in Exodus 19, we saw that they had to sanctify themselves for 3 days unto the Sabbath, or for 3 days, but it was unto the Sabbath. And that is the same as what David did in 1 Samuel 21 when he got to eat the showbread. come not at your wives. So 1 Thessalonians 4, 3 through 5. For this is the will of God, even your sanctification. It's already been used a few times in the passages I've read, that you should abstain from fornication, that every one of you should know how to possess his vessel in sanctification and honour, not in the lust of concupiscence, even as the Gentiles which know not God. The sanctification unto holiness by fasting for 3 days from sex with husband-wife is seen again when King David tried to cover up his adultery with the child conceived when he slept with Bathsheba, Uriah the Hittite's wife. Oh. And this is 2 Samuel 11, 7 through 15. And when Uriah was come unto him, David demanded of him how Joab did, and how the people did, and how the war prospered. And David said unto Uriah, Go down to thy house and wash thy feet. Where's Uriah's wife? She's in his house. And Uriah departed out of the king's house, and there followed him a mess of meat from the king. But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house. Who's the door? Yeshua's the door. He's sleeping in the door. He's nailing himself to the door as a willing servant with all the servants of his lord, and went not down to his house. And when they had told David, saying, Uriah went not down unto his house, David said unto Uriah, Camest thou not from thy journey? Why then didst thou not go down unto thy house? And Uriah said unto David, The ark and Israel and Judah abide in tents, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are encamped in the open fields. Shall I then go into mine house and eat and drink, and to lie with my wife? David was trying to get Uriah to break the key of David so he couldn't war on the Sabbath. As thou livest, and as thy soul liveth, I will not do this thing. Why? Because his men needed him. And David said to Uriah, Tarry here today also, and tomorrow I will let thee depart. So Uriah abode in Jerusalem that day, and the morrow, and when David had called him, he did eat and drink before him, and he made him drunk. And at even he went out to lie on his bed with his servants of the Lord, but went not down to his house. There's the second day. The third day, and it came to pass in the morning that David wrote a letter to Joab, and sent it by the hand of Uriah. And he wrote in the letter, saying, Set ye Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle, and retire ye from him, that he may be smitten and die. So Uriah slept in the king's doorway as a willing servant. Yeshua is the door, he opens and closes. It aligns with Isaiah 22 and Revelation 3. Uriah slept in that doorway so he was able to war on the Sabbath. That's the purpose of the key of David. So you can war on the Sabbath, fulfill the royal law on the Sabbath, whatever it may be, as long as it's in God's will, not doing your own will, not cutting your grass, or whatever it may be. In Joshua 6, the Israelites compassed Jericho every day for 7 days, including the Sabbath. It could well have been 2 Sabbaths, which would be unlawful unless they had possessed the key of David. Joshua 6, 3 through 4. And ye shall compass the city, all ye men of war, and go round about the city once. Thus shalt thou do 6 days, and 7 priests shall bear the ark of 7 trumpets of ram's horns, and the 7th day ye shall compass the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. So the 7th day, for many cultures, has always been a Sabbath, a Saturday. As simple as that. Joshua 6:15, and it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose up early about the dawning of the day. The day begins at dawn, Judah and Torah movement, and compassed the city after the same manner 7 times. Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times. So, by following the letter of the law, Joshua and his soldiers would be found guilty of breaking the Sabbath, but Joshua and his priests knew the full instruction of the law, and because of this, they knew they could do battle on the 7th day by ensuring their vessels were holy. Isaiah 56, 4 through 5, and bear in mind this is quoted in incredible detail in Acts 8 by Philip to the Ethiopian eunuch. And what did I go over earlier? Eunuch, the meaning of it in the Greek. to live unmarried or impotent. For thus saith the Lord unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, and choose the things that please me, and take hold of my covenant, even unto them will I give in mine house, and within my walls, a place and a name better than of sons and of daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. And we all know Paul was a Pharisee before Yeshua met him on the road to Damascus. So he knew the Torah. He knew the Torah better than I ever will, unless I overcome and Yeshua teaches me himself. First Corinthians 6:12. All things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. So many on the right, many in the Torah movement use this to deny Paul, but they have no idea what he's talking about or what he's quoting. There he's quoting Matthew 19:11 through 12 that I went through earlier. And the last sentence, I will not be brought under the power of any. To be under the power of something is to be powerless to it. So we go to the next chapter, 1 Corinthians 7:5 through 8. Defraud ye not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourselves to fasting from intercourse, this is speaking to married couples, and prayer, and come together again, have sex again, after the Sabbath day, after the 3-day sexual fast. I mean, Jubilees 50 tells you that, even if you can't accept what I'm saying, Jubilees 50 tells you not to lay with your wife on the Sabbath as is. And it's interesting that so many rabbis are pushing, mainly directed towards the Torah movement, that it's okay to have sex on the Sabbath, and also some rabbis are pushing that you must, which goes completely against Scripture, because they are Chaldeans. That Satan tempt ye not for your incontinency, G192, which means to be powerless. The same as what the previous chapter said. But I speak this by permission, and not of commandment, for I would that all men were even as I myself, unmarried/eunuchs. But every man that hath his proper gift of God, one after this manner, and another after that, I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I. And Paul was a widow. Now we go to the story of the man at the Bethsaida pool whom Yeshua healed. John 5:5 through 11. And a certain man was there which had an infirmity 38 years, a long time. When Yeshua saw him lie, and he knew that he had been a long time in that case, he said unto him, Wilt thou be made whole? The impotent man, G2135 that I went through earlier, eunuchos, from Matthew 12, answered him, Sir, I have no man, when the water is troubled, to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, another steppeth down before me. Yeshua said unto him, Rise, take up thy bed, and walk. And immediately the man was made whole, and took up his bed, and walked. And on the same day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said unto him that was cured, It is the Sabbath day, it is not lawful for thee to carry thy bed. He answered them, He that hath made me whole, the same said unto me, Take up thy bed and walk. So even from that passage, it's quite clear that those that are impotent, those that are single, because you shouldn't be having sex if you're single, sex is marriage, they may well unknowingly have the key of David. So, Nehemiah 13:22, And I commanded the Levites, the priests, that they should cleanse themselves, and that they should come and keep the gates, to sanctify the Sabbath day. How do you sanctify it? A 3-day sexual fast unto the Sabbath, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Remember me, O my God, concerning this also, and spare me according to the greatness of thy mercy. And now on to Luke 11:52, why I mentioned lawyers earlier. Woe unto you lawyers, for ye have taken away the key of knowledge. It's a different phrase for the exact same thing. Ye entered not in yourselves, and them that were entering in ye hindered. So that word lawyers is nomikos, and it means to be an expert in the Mosaic law. It's you, letter of the law. Those of you that come out of the Christian church, you go to the right and you become legalistic. You touch the mount, you touch Mount Sinai, and therefore you will be judged under sacrificial law. 1 Corinthians 16 verse 9, for a great door, Yeshua, and effectual is opened unto me, and there are many adversaries. Those adversaries, I think Paul's talking about the lawyers, those of you that are legalistic. And I'll finish with this. Revelation 22:18 through 19. For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in the book. And if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, if you remove the key of David, Robbie Q, I'm looking at you, and this is because I care, your name will be blotted out of the book of life. In fact, I'm going to title this video, The Key of David in Context, Robbie. Your name will not only be taken out of the book of life and out of the holy city, which is the promise, the blessing, the inheritance, and from the things which are written in this book. If you have any questions regarding this, please just post them in the comments. There's something in the book of Reuben out of the 12 patriarchs. I might read that quick actually. Because this is exactly what some of the fallen brothers and sisters have done. We've seen it multiple times. They receive the gift, but maybe they don't receive it in their hearts. And then they remove it from other people. They remove the gifts and the blessings. It was described as a gift in some of the scripture I just read a moment ago. The Testament of Reuben from verses 23 through 31. Test it yourself, read it yourself, test the spirits as with everything. And this is about the Luke 11, 20 and 26. About someone that falls away from the truth, they receive 7 more evil spirits after the house is swept clean. So with these spirits are mingled the spirits of error. First, the spirit of fornication is seated in the nature and in the senses. The second, the spirit of insatiableness in the belly. That sounds like feasting to me. Unworthily feasting. The third, the spirit of fighting in the liver and gall. God hates contention amongst his sheep. The fourth is the spirit of obsequiousness and chicanery, that through officious attention one may be fair in seeming. The fifth is the spirit of pride, that one may be boastful and arrogant. The sixth is the spirit of lying, in perdition and jealousy, to practice deceits and concealments from kindreds and friends, not sharing your talents. The seventh is the spirit of injustice, with which are thefts and acts of rapacity, that a man may fulfill the desire of his heart. For injustice worketh together with the other spirits by the taking of gifts. Removing the gifts, removing the day dawning, oh, you keep the Sabbath sunset to sunset, we can still be brothers. It's being a respecter of persons, and that makes you guilty of their sin. And with all these, the spirit of sleep is joined, which is that of error and fantasy. Yes, I hope this is edifying.